Now, the CBO has made their projections all the way until 2034. Even until 2028, the US deficit will hit 7.2%, and by the time Trump retires as president, it will still be way over 6%. And if that's the case, how is Besson going to drive the US deficit down to 4% as he so proudly predicted? Now, this is where we need to dive a little, get deeper into the weeds. What Besson is trying to paint is a Mad Max scenario of massive inflation to goose up the economy. There's simply no other genuine way to drive down US government spending. Now, this is going to coincide with Powell leaving his position and Trump installing his own friendly Fed chair. Someone who's willing to run the economy hot, and we mean really, really hot. And Luke Groman just exposed the agenda. It's highly unlikely that 3 or 4% can be achieved without a sustained period of significantly negative real rates. It's highly important we understand this because we could be entering a period of financial repression really soon. And here's what he actually means when talking about reducing the deficit to GDP. He's planning to increase GDP growth at all costs to dilute government spending. The only way to accomplish this is to force the Federal Reserve's hand. By spending more money, he can use fiscal policy to raise inflation. Either the Fed accepts higher inflation to goose GDP up, goose GDP higher, or allow US debt auctions to fail, and then in turn will collapse the entire system. Very insidious but very doable. And this is called financial repression. The Treasury can pressure the Fed or big US banks to keep buying bonds, and Besson can impose the liquidity mandates to get the big boys to hold treasuries even if real returns are negative. Buy more 10-year bonds at say 4% yield even though real inflation is much higher than that. And that in turn gives us negative real interest rates. Welcome to the magic of financial engineering. It's horrific, but it can be done if Trump is desperate enough. There's simply no way to bring the deficit down without financial repression. This is doubly true when bond yields refuse to head lower. Plus, we have an inflation shock coming in the days and weeks ahead. The next few days are going to be a really wild inflation ride. Even banks on Wall Street and Paul Tudor Jones, they're calling for the dollar to crash by another 10%. The relief valve for this mess would be the currency. The dollar will have to be debased sooner or later.